In this video, what we're going to do is take a look at how we can modify STL files. And the STL files are the type of thing that you download off Thingiverse. You get yourself a file for something you want to 3D print, and you realize you want an extra hole in it, or you want to make some modifications to it. Let's see what we can do with an STL file and how much we can modify it and how we would go about doing that. So first thing I'm going to do is create in part design. I'm just going to create a new file, a new part, and a new body. And then I want to import an STL. So I'm going to go to my import. So it's under File, Import. And I'm actually going to do this replate STL. It's one I found on Thingiverse. It's just something to hold a hinge, but I'm just going to use that. It's a fairly simple model. And I wanted to just use something that I haven't created, so I don't have the original. So if I open that up, you can immediately see what this thing looks like. I think it holds a hinge like for a door in your kitchen cabinet or something like that. Not 100% sure on it, but basically we're just going to make some modifications to it. So the first thing you can notice is that with an STL, it looks pretty good there, but there's not much I can do with it. As far as being able to modify it now, there's really nothing I can do to it. So we're going to have to create a solid from this model. So let's see how we do that. So to make this into a solid, what we're first going to do is we're going to go into our part workbench. So now we're in the part workbench, not the part design workbench. Then if we click on that plate and we go under this part, we can see create shape from mesh. Remember, an STL is a mesh, so I'm going to create a shape from that. And I'm going to sew the shape. I'm going to do it with 0.01. And there's my shape in that replate 001. I'm going to turn off the mesh because we don't need that anymore. And now you can see that the mesh is a little untidy when you look at it. So the way this works, we want to go into this part and we're going to go under create a copy and we're going to say refine shape. It's going to take a little while, but once we do that, now you can see I have a much better looking solid from there. And then I'm going to go into my shape and say convert to solid. And here now, the only difference between replate 001 is now it has that solid after it. But that basically means I have a solid to work from. And now if I have that solid to work from, some of the things I can actually do, I can measure things. So one thing I can do with solid is I can measure the width and I can measure the height. So I can see it's 58 by 61. I don't know where you can see that. The green dimensions don't show up so great, but you can see I've got 58 by 61. And then I can take some measurements from all of these places. What I want to do is I want to be able to position this. I need to know how big that is. It's 4.5 millimeters from there to there. And then I can know how big that is across there. So it's 52 millimeters across there. And so if I make a note of those dimensions, I can easily figure out where the center is from here. The center this way doesn't appear to matter, but the center this way definitely does. I can maybe get onto a corner of this so that we can have a line, so we can make some sensible changes and make those work. So now I have my dimensions noted. I'm just going to clear all the dimensions, close that. We don't need that anymore. Now I can make some modifications, and to make modifications on this part, what I need to do is to create a sketch. So I'm actually going to go back into my part design And I'm going to take this solid and drop it in that body. And immediately that makes a base feature. And that base feature is now what we can use in our drawing. I just turned this one off because it was still on. So there's my base feature. And now if I want to, I'm just going to do a quick drawing in this sketch. I'll edit that sketch. I'll drop just a circle in here just so you can see. I'm going to use that view section so you can see where that circle is. I'm going to close that. And I'll just make that a pocket and tell it to go through all. Do it symmetrical. And there you can see I've modified my base feature with a sketch. I just drew a circle and just cut it straight out of that base feature. So that works very well. Now the problem with that, of course, is I just arbitrarily dropped that on there. And what I really wanted to do was to put it on that circle, make that hole bigger. So how would we do that? And it's not as easy as you might think. So let's go back here. Let's go back to my sketch. And we're going to just turn that back on. I'm going to delete that. And just close my sketch. Now my pocket's broken because I guess I've deleted my pocket. So there's the circle that we were working with. Now if I want to get into the center of that circle, I need to find out where that circle is. You would think it would be easy just to pick that and find the center of that circle. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. So let's try. So if I come here and I want to get into the middle of this circle, I can do some construction work maybe. Come off here, off there. Let's just hit that. So now you can see my problem is my circle disappears when I look halfway through. My sketch is not on that line. I've got several issues here. I can try and drop a circle in here. Again, I can't see where that line is. So now I'm a bit lost. So what would I do for that? Well, what I want to do is I want to align this part here. I know that the distance from there to there is 4.5 because I already measured that. I already know the distance from here to here is 52. So the distance from this edge to that center is 30.5. So what I've got to do is get this edge to be aligned somewhere where I can start from that. So let's go back and let's try and do that. So I'm going to close this. And I'm going to go to my base feature. And I'm going to just realign that base feature. So I'm going to go on to my transform. And I'm going to transform it. I'm going to transform it. Guess what? I can't transform the base feature. It's not going to work. So I can go to this replate or this solid, and I can transform that. But then my base feature will be offset from my solid. So let's just try that. So I'm going to get rid of that. Go to my solid. Go to transform. I can transform it by moving it. Say OK. I'm just going to go back to the top. Now watch what happens if I turn this one on as well. My base feature didn't move. So getting my base feature to move with this solid is very difficult. That's not going to help us. So in fact, what we want to do is we want to either move the body or move the sketch origin. And then that will help us to align it. So if I go to the body, you can see my body's position here is at 0, 0, 0. If I go to my sketch, you can see my sketch position is here at 0, 0. So now I can move one relative to the other. Now the problem is I need to figure out how far I've got to move it, and probably the easiest way to do that is to move one and see where it went in which direction. So the best way for me to align my sketch to my model is to modify its attachment. So I'm going to do that. I go into my attachment. And now I can just modify this X position. It'll modify where this origin is around this part. So I'm looking at the bottom side and I have it flat. So I'm going to go with 6 to start with. You can see 6 has lined it up pretty well. Maybe 6.2, 6.3, 6.4. That is getting pretty close. 6.5 might be on the money. There it is, 6.5. And now if I want to bring the Y value up, we'll just go to the Y value. We'll go minus 5.5, 7. There, I think we're good at 6.5 and minus 5.9. That looks like we're maybe not quite. Let's get on there at 6, I think. Minus 6. Yep, that looks good. I can just see the line, so you're right on that line. So minus 6 and 6.5. That's very good. And now I have some alignment there, and I can figure out where my parts are. So I know from this point over here, 30.5 will be my center line. So if I take a construction line, I'm in the construction line. Remember this guy here switches me from center line, construction to regular geometry. So construction geometry and regular geometry. So I'm going to just do it from up here. I'll attach it here, make sure it's horizontal. We'll give that a dimension, 30.5. And then we just want a vertical line that goes down here. Just make sure it's vertical. That's good. I'm going to turn back on my base feature. Now I have my line in there. I'm going to switch my view back to the top. I'm going to hit that guy. I'm going to extend that up there. So now I have the center line for those holes. So if I turn off my sectional view, my line now runs right through the middle of that guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on that sectional view again. I'm going to go to regular geometry. So again, hitting this button here to switch. I'll create a circle. I'll create it on that line. And I'm intentionally going to make it smaller. And then I'm going to have a look at open a hole through. So I'm going to close that. And I'm going to make that a hole. I'm going to tell it it's through all unsymmetrical. The only reason I'm doing that is because that's an easy way to make sure it goes through everything. Then I can say OK to that. and I can take a look and see where my hole is in relation to the other hole. So I can see now that my hole is not in the center for some reason. And so I'm going to have to have a look and see why that. So let's check why that line is not lining up, because that should be in the center. So I know that's 30.5, and right away I see the problem is this line is not coincident with those points. Boop, make that 30.5. And now you should see that the center point of that is actually the center point. You can see much better on this circle that it's right in the middle of that circle. So that's good. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a dimension from this one to this one. And we'll just walk it down. So we'll go to 40. Take a look. That looks a bit better. And I don't know why my model's not updating. I'm going to close that. We'll let it update this way. There we go. Now you can see that it's almost but not quite. So if I take that one and make that, say, 39. Up out of the way. Okay. 39 doesn't look right. Let's go with 39.5. Okay, that looks better. Not sure why my model is not updating at that time. So I hit this update button and it's actually updated it. So now if I go in close, and remember I can probably get a measurement from here to here that will get me quite close, but I can also see that if I make that way, so 39.6 potentially. Still not quite there. So I'm going to go 39.7. And you're going to have to do some iterations like this for an STL because you don't know the dimensions. So you're going to have to try and figure it out for yourself. And sometimes close enough is good enough. So I'm still going to say that's not right. I can see. I'll just give it an update just to make sure everything's updated. You can see now that it's just a little too high. So I'm going to go with 39.6. Again, make sure I do the update so I can see the actual model. And if you look at this distance here, that looks pretty darn good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this view and I'm going to put a dimension on my radius. And if you look at that, it's 7.09. So if I make it 7.2 maybe, and then turn that off, give this an update. And so it looks like that might be 7.5 as a diameter. Or could it even be 8? Let's check it one more time. Yep, I think it's going to be 8. So if I go to 8, update, boom, now you can see my line is very close. So I think I'm spot on there. So I have a dimension of 39.6 up. It's in the center. And now I can make that hole as big as I want it to be. And I can modify it in any way that I want to modify it. And I already know, so I know where the center is of this. I know how wide that is. Remember, it was 52 when I measured it. So if I wanted to put something in there, I could certainly do that. If I want to put another hole in here, let's say I want to make that hole a little bit bigger, I can certainly do that by just connecting to there again. And I'll bring that in close. Put my guy on here. And then I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this dimension in here. So it's easier if the hole is smaller, because then you can line it up better. And I'm just going to do another dimension from the center of that to the center of that. And typically when people create these models, they're creating them with round numbers. So if that's 25, I'm going to say it's probably 25.4 to the center of that. Going to do my update. Zoom in. Okay, it looks like it might be a bit more than that. 25.5. And now I'm looking pretty good there. And I'm going to make that 25.6, I think. So once again, I'm iterating to where I believe that that is going to be right. I can see it's not quite right. I'm going to make my circle a little bit bigger. So there you can see there's a tiny little bit out. Come up here. So it's a little bit too high. So 25.5 and just check it. It's gotta be 25.55, somewhere in the middle. And that looks perfect. It's kind of an odd number to have, but that's okay. And now if I want to make this one, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. So I'm going to take that and I'll make it 4.7. And we'll close that. And there, now I have the hole here is all the way through. This hole's a little bit bigger. And of course, if I want to add things, if I wanted to put a feature in, if I wanted to add a new hole, put a square feature, let's say I want to add a square over here, I can certainly do that. And so to do that, we just go a new sketch, XY plane again. Now remember, my attachment of this sketch is in the wrong place, so I need to change that attachment. I'm just going to attach it the same way that I attached the original sketch. So we're going to go here, 6.5 and 6. So it's a minus 6.5 and 6. Is that correct? No. It should be 6.5 and minus 6. Gone the wrong way. And then now this sketch is also attached over there. And then if I wanted to do, actually let's do a rounded rectangle. And we'll just put them in there. And then I would just dimension that how we want it. So I can dimension everything from that corner again. And then I'm not going to actually dimension it for this one, no need. I'm just going to close it, add a pad, and I'll make sure that that pad is going in the right direction. See, there we are. Yep, there's my pad. And all the same things apply. So hopefully that helps you with modifying STLs. I don't think you want to go crazy. If I was going to do a whole lot of stuff to this thing, I think I'd just remodel this model. But for modifications to an STL, you certainly can do it. You can add features, you can put in new pockets, you can make all different types of features, you can do the measurements, you can relocate your sketch so you can get them accurate. And for circles and things, you can do what I did and iterate into the sizes. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them below. And if you haven't done so already, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe. You can always join our Patreon or become a channel member too. That helps to keep us moving along and creating new videos. So again, hopefully you'll enjoy using STLs and being able to modify them in FreeCAD. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.